Welcome to the Deep Dive. We're here to help you get truly well-informed by digging into key sources. Today we've got something, well, pretty special. A collection of ancient verses from the Theragatha. Specifically, we're looking at a section called the Terasanipato. And these aren't just dusty old texts, They're a really profound account of one person's journey to deep inner peace.
That's absolutely right. We're zeroing in on verses attributed to an elder named Sotakuviso. He was an enlightened monk way back in antiquity. And our goal really is to pull out the practical, timeless wisdom packed into these quite concise verses, wisdom about liberation from suffering.
Exactly. So our mission for this deep dive, let's unpack Soṅso's story. Let's try to understand the core principles he really embraced and figure out what it actually means to achieve a mind that's genuinely unshakable, regardless of what life throws at you. Okay, let's start with Soṇa Koļivisa himself. The verses mention he was initially a prominent figure in Anga's kingdom, so he wasn't starting from obscurity, he had status. What do the texts tell us about, what sparked such a massive change for someone like him?
It is a stark contrast, isn't it? You go from this worldly prominence, and then later he's described as being excellent in the Dhamma, and importantly, having crossed over suffering.
Right.
That points to more than just a career change, obviously. It's a complete internal transformation. And the verses really make you want to understand how that happened. It's just, it wasn't instantaneous. It was a process.
Right, a process. So looking at that process, what are the key practices, maybe the mindsets, that these verses highlight? What would someone embarking on this path focus on?
Well, they offer some very directive, very practical instructions. There's this intriguing line: cut out 5, abandon 5, and cultivate 5 more. You can think of it as actively shedding those common mental blocks, things like craving, ill will, restlessness.
Yeah.
The 5 hindrances. And at the same time, purposefully growing positive qualities, mindfulness, energy, calm, concentration. The idea is to get beyond the 5 attachments, letting go of that grip we have on things like possessions, sense pleasures, even strong opinions that bind us. The text is also really clear with its warnings. It warns against being haughty, heedless with external hopes.
Yeah.
Because if you have those attitudes, your stila, that's your moral conduct.
Right, your ethics.
Exactly. And your samadhi, concentration, and panya, wisdom, they just can't reach perfection. And these are like the bedrock of inner development. Without them, real peace is, it's out of reach. And there's a direct consequence mentioned for, let's say, putting your energy in the wrong place, doing what should not be done, and neglecting what should be done. The text says this inevitably leads to an increase in defilements, the asava. It's presented as a very clear cause and effect. Wise effort is key.
That really drives home how much our mental states matter, doesn't it? So as a sort of positive counter to those pitfalls, the verses really stress the importance of kaya gatsasu, which is mindfulness of the body, right? How does that specific practice fit into avoiding those unskillful actions you mentioned?
Oh, it's absolutely central. The verses explain that those who are really diligent, consistently diligent in kaya gattasati, they naturally avoid unskillful actions. They stay focused on what should be done. And this ultimately leads to the fading away, the cessation of those defilements. It really shows the power of just being present, aware of your body as a way to kind of anchor and regulate the mind. And it goes further. The verses include this really direct, almost urgent call to the listener, to you, essentially, to follow the straight path, not turn back, to rouse oneself and attain Nirvana, which is that ultimate state, complete freedom from suffering, the end of the cycle.
Okay, so he's on this path, understanding these principles. What came next? There was a really pivotal moment involving Soṇa and the Buddha, wasn't there? Something about effort.
Yes, exactly. It seems Sona's initial approach was marked by akaradamhi viryami. That basically means excessive effort. He was probably pushing himself way too hard, maybe trying to force enlightenment, straining.
Okay, like trying too hard.
Precisely. And the verses say the Buddha, who's called the Sathis here, the teacher, and also Kakuma, the visionary, the one who sees, the Buddha taught him the Dhamma, comparing it to a lute. The word used is fupamai.
The lute analogy, that's such a brilliant image. It makes you think, right, lute strings, if they're too tight, they snap. Too loose, they just flop, no sound. They need to be tuned just right, perfectly balanced for the music to sound beautiful. Such a powerful metaphor for finding that sweet spot, that balanced effort in pretty much anything we do, isn't it? Spiritual practice, work, life.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And for Soṇa, this specific teaching was, transformative. The verses say that after hearing the Buddha's words, he really took it to heart, became devoted to that teaching. And the result, he achieved equilibrium, samatha, balance. And from that place of balanced effort, he attained the highest goal, He reached the three knowledges, which usually refers to insight into past lives, how beings fare according to their actions, and crucially, the destruction of all mental defilements. And ultimately, it says he fulfilled the Buddha's teaching. It just shows how a seemingly small adjustment in approach can unlock everything.
Wow. So after this whole journey, the transformation, finding that balanced effort, what does that ultimate liberation, that inner peace actually look like according to these verses? What are its defining characteristics?
The verses, especially 640 and 641, paint a clear picture. They describe the liberated mind as one devoted to renunciation, a conscious letting go. Also, mental seclusion, not necessarily being physically alone, but finding that inner quiet space, non-affliction, a state free from inner turmoil or distress, and fundamentally the destruction of clinging and craving, getting at the very roots of suffering. It culminates in non-delusion, seeing reality as it is, which, the verses specify, involves seeing the arising of sense bases.
Seeing the arising of sense bases, what does that mean in practice?
It means observing how your experiences, sights, sounds, feelings, thoughts, just appear and disappear moment by moment, without getting caught up in them, without identifying with them or reacting habitually, seeing that impermanent flow. Then verse 642 describes the ultimate state of the liberated monk, the arahant. It says there's no accumulation of what has been done and nothing left to do. Okay. Now, that doesn't mean being lazy or passive. It means the work is done. The spiritual path is complete. There are no more defilements driving actions, no more tasks left on that path. It's profound freedom.
That's incredible. And then comes that powerful rock analogy in verses 643 and 644. Silayata ekagano vatena na samarati, a solid rock, unmoved by the wind. How does that tie into this unshakable mind?
It's the perfect image, really. Just like a massive, solid rock isn't shaken or bothered by even the strongest winds, a mind that has reached this state of liberation isn't disturbed or swayed by experiences, whether they're pleasant or unpleasant. Sights, sounds, smells, tastes, touches, agreeable or disagreeable, they just don't knock the mind off balance. Their mind is steadfast. It's disjoined, disconnected from those defilements, and it simply perceives arising and passing away. It sees things as they truly are. And interestingly, this whole section of verses attributed to Soṇa Koļivisa in the Terasanipato consists of exactly 13 verses, a concise package of profound wisdom.
What an amazing journey through Elder Soṇa Koļivisa's verses. It's fascinating. We've touched on his transformation, the practical steps, that crucial insight about balanced effort, mindfulness, and finally, this state of profound liberation.
It really is remarkable. These ancient insights feel so incredibly relevant today, don't they? They offer essentially a blueprint for cultivating an unshakable mind, a mind that can navigate all the ups and downs of life with, stability and genuine wisdom. It really highlights that peace isn't about avoiding life's difficulties, but about fundamentally changing how we relate to them internally.
So here's something to think about as you go through your day. Just consider, how often might you be playing your strings too tight in some area of your life? Or maybe too loose in another, whether it's work or relationships or your own goals. What small adjustment, maybe something like the one So-No made after hearing that Lute teaching, could possibly bring you a little closer to your own sense of balance, your own equilibrium and peace? Thanks for joining us on this deep dive.